Hey, what's up YouTube? Getting ready to put my front fender on today and finish the wiring harness for the front bumper cover. I've installed all around, you can see at every mounting point, one of the LMR fender kits. So we've got the new retaining clip nut things. There's the lower mount, right? Then the front mount back in behind the door. Then inside there's three, right? And then the final one will be on the fender support bracket, but it is actually on the fender itself. So that one's out waiting to come in. And then while getting ready to do this, I went ahead and, if you watched one of the other videos where I found a missing clip, I went ahead and got that installed, so I don't have to worry about that at the moment. And then I also finished putting my retaining clip on the body wiring harness bulkhead fitting. So everything's set and it's time to get to work. So about 5 minutes after last clip, fender is now back installed. The bolt that sits right behind here was the hardest one to get to. Body line looks pretty close all the way down. Won't be able to do any final alignment though until everything's together. Learned that before the hard way. New hardware. I think when I got this front bolt was the only one in the top side. So then you can see the support bracket where it comes through, bolts in place. So next up, time to start working on that front bumper cover. So I got to thinking and decided that before I put the inner support back in the bumper cover, I'm gonna test fit it on here while it's still easy to handle, check the fitment of everything, and get a better idea of where my wiring loom can run without getting into any pinch points. So here we go. You can see with the test fit that everything's fairly tight, but there's plenty of room to run this. If I keep it under the light buckets, so it looks like I can run along underneath the light buckets the entire width, and find a spot in here to put some either zip ties, or doesn't have to be anything special in this area. Maybe just drill some small holes and zip tie it to the inner piece, run it across, and be finished. Everything's lining up well. A little bit of a gap issue here, but then I've remembered that the actual bumper cover will go over the back of that, and add probably an 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. So time to get this thing in the cover. I got the inner support back in. Like a lot of jobs on this, I swear every one I get to next is the worst one I've had to do, but it's in. I tried to do it with the cover actually right side up, and that was not going well at all. So I found out if I flip the whole thing upside down, that I can set this in about midpoint on each side and then start working the way up in here. But these pieces have to actually be pried up over, and then the little slots for the bolts go into place. But everything seems to be fitting up pretty well. The new LMR backing plates are in. One of the factory ones was broken off. And then headlights, everything's looking good. So time to get this thing riveted on and then get it back to the front of the car. I've had to move indoors due to thunderstorms, but I did get everything back together. Some of the rivets didn't break clean, so I'm going to get a grinder and take those down, because the last thing I want is cuts later on. There's another one, right? There's a few that did. Here's one that worked out well. It didn't. It didn't. Another one that didn't. And when I hit this area, I was starting to get into some where the rivets would just pull through instead of catching. So if you look closely, there's a small washer behind the rivet head, and on the rear side I put another washer on to give it something to hold on to, and that seemed to work pretty well. Other than that, everything's riveted in. Headlights are all set. Next up is testing all the headlights for high and low function before I get it all bolted into the car. So I will sit up here and run through the test on those, and I can start working with the wiring. Okay, here we go, testing all the headlights for functionality before getting everything wired up. One good. Two's good. Three's good. And four's good. So, time to start splicing some wire and getting this thing ready to bolt on. So we're back on day 2, working on the front bumper cover. You can see I've got the wiring harness connected. We've got the passenger side mostly finished, and I'm working my way across to the driver's, and a few more splices here and there, and more shrink tube, and should have this thing ready to bolt back on with full working lights, which will be nice since when I picked it up, one light came on fairly dim, unless you put the high beams on and then everything quit. So anyway, lots of stuff laid out here. It looks like a mess now. Once I finish it up, I'll get another short clip showing the final result. Back with almost finished wiring harness. One thing I've left to do is the last turn signal marker light for the driver's side, and then finish looming everything up, getting it neat and tidy and secured to the cover. One problem I did run into that was causing me all kinds of problems trying to get the new side marker light in. If you look, this is for the other side. It's got a tab at the front that should slip in, and I could not get this thing in there no matter how I tried to fit it in. Ended up almost cracking a cover, right, if you look right here, and I think ended up chipping a little paint even trying to get the thing in there. Now granted, this cover's been around 41 years, but what I ended up discovering when I took a real close look was the previous tab is actually broken off up inside. And once I took a pick and knocked that out, this thing pretty much went right in. So if you're trying to get one of these things in and it's not going and it's causing a lot of problems, don't do what I did. Don't try and, put a little more pressure behind it or a little more power. Just back off and take a real close look, especially right up in here, for any pieces of old side marker. If you find one, I just took a small pick and managed to get mine knocked right out. And as soon as I did, this thing went right in. Then I used the new stainless screw from the 2-screw kit. Went in perfectly. So anyway, just a heads up on that. But I'm going to get back to it here and hopefully have this thing finished in another hour. So I'm getting ready to wrap it up for today, for the weekend here. Didn't quite get as far as I'd wanted. Did run out of Tessa tape, so I'm going to order some of that, hopefully get it here in a couple days, then finish tying all this up, right, getting the looming on, get everything situated, and I also want to try and mount the driving light in under the bumper cover and see how that goes. You can see I got some aluminum flat stock to try and brace that up with. So I just got a little bit more I want to get done. I don't really want to rush it. So for the time being though, I've tested every light, every connection, everything works. So at least I can rest tonight knowing that, and then just pick it up tomorrow morning early before work starts, and then again tomorrow night after work, since everybody's on lockdown. There's not a whole lot else to do. So that'll be it for this weekend's update. Thanks everyone. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. There'll be a lot more to this as time goes by. Thank you.